Hello. This is a video for those of you that have been struggling with solving the equations, the absolute value equations. This video is strictly optional. All right, first thing that we have to remember is how do we solve the equation? So the quick steps that we need to remember are as follows. 1. Is x outside, by x I mean the variable, outside the absolute value? It either is or it is not. Yes, we check. No, no check. 2, isolate the absolute value. We get the absolute value by itself, then we write the equations. All right. Well, let's look at our first equation. 3 plus 4 times 6x minus 2 equals 11. The only x is right there. It's inside the absolute value. No check. Solve, get our answer, and we're done. Now, if you want to check, by all means do so. There's nothing wrong with that. So now we solve. Just like, I'm going to write it up here, an equation 3 plus 4x equals 11. 3 plus 4 times something equals 11. We're going to subtract 3 first, and then we're going to divide by 4. Minus 3 to both sides, just like we've been doing all along. And we get 4 absolute value, 6x minus 2 equals 8. Notice my absolute values do not look like ones. They're distinct. Now, one problem that a lot of you have been having is what is the operation between the 4 and the absolute value? Is it addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division? Clearly it's not addition or subtraction. There's no plus or minus here. You know, if there was a plus or if there was a minus, then we would have to add or subtract, but that is not the case. So we can see clearly that it's division, so we divide both sides by 4. These cancel, and we get absolute value 6x minus 2 equals 2. Now we write our two equations. 6x minus 2, and what I do is I take the stuff inside and I write it outside absolute values. 6x minus 2 equals 2. 6x minus 2 equals negative 2, the opposite. And then I solve the equations. And solve. But you know how to do that. We all know how to solve these equations. All right, my next example. 2 plus 3 times the absolute value, 5x plus 5, over 4 equals 5. All right, clearly here, my only x is inside the absolute values, There's no x outside, so there's no check required. So I want to isolate the absolute value. So I subtract 2. Because this is a plus, it's not multiplying, it's adding. This is a positive, I subtract. And I get 3 times my absolute value, 5x plus 5, divided by 4, equals 3. Now I have a choice. I can multiply both sides by 4 to eliminate the fraction. I can divide both sides by 3. Doesn't matter which I do first. I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. I show the multiplication. Those cancel. And I get 3 times the absolute value, 5x plus 5, equals 12. Then I divide. Again, the operation here is multiplication. Even though we don't have a dot there, just like 3 with parentheses, this is multiplication. It can't be anything else. If it was plus, there'd be a plus sign. We divide by 3, divide by 3, absolute value, 5x plus 5, equals 4. And now I write, I'll do it over here. I'll write my 2 equations. 5x plus 5 equals 4, and 5x plus 5 equals negative 4. And solve. And I'm not going to solve those. This is more about setting up the equations. Once we have this set up, it's relatively easy to solve. All right. Now, let's look at the last one. This one is a little more complicated. 1 minus the absolute value, 1/2 x plus 6, equals negative 3/2 x plus 3. Now, here's my absolute value. I have an x here, I have an x here. This x right here, it's an arrow. That x there is outside. I need to do a check. No options here. Must do the check. All right. Now I want to isolate the absolute value. So, I want to get the absolute value by itself. I am not going to try to get rid of fractions. I'm just trying to isolate the absolute value. So, here I subtract 1 from both sides. And I get negative absolute value, 1/2 x plus 6, equals negative 3/2 x plus 2. Because this is a negative, it's the same as having a negative 1 here. But you don't have to put the 1 there. I divide by negative 1. And actually, I'm going to write that slightly different. I'm going to divide this by negative 1 and that by negative 1. All right. So now, these negatives cancel, and I have 1/2 absolute value of 1/2 x plus 6 equals positive 3/2 x minus 2. Because this is a positive, 2 divided by negative 1 becomes negative. I have now isolated the absolute value. The absolute value is by itself. So now I write my 2 equations. 1/2 x plus 6 equals 3/2 x minus 2, and 1/2 x plus 6 equals negative 3/2 x plus 2. Notice that this positive became a negative, and this negative here became a positive. All right? The signs change. Now I need to solve. Now, I'm going to do the first step, and then we're going to do the check. We're going to do some magic. All right. Now, if we look at this, we see we have a fraction. So just like last unit, we are going to multiply. Let me get rid of those parentheses. Boom. Just like the last unit, we're going to multiply everything by 2. And I left myself plenty of room when I wrote this, because I knew I was going to multiply by 2. So I multiply everything by 2. I guess I didn't leave myself as much room as I thought. Cancel x plus 12. Cancel there, equals 3x minus 4. And on the other equation, cancel, cancel, x plus 12 equals, cancel, cancel, negative 3x plus 4. And I solve. When you solve, you're going to get, on this side, x equals 8. And on this side, you're going to get x equals negative 2. When we solve, all right? And that was magic. All right, you have to show your work. Now we have to put this into the original equation. So we put in 1 minus the absolute value of 1/2 times 8 plus 6 equals negative 3/2 times 8 plus 3. All right, now you have a choice. All right, I'm going to clean this up as much as I can. 1 minus absolute value of 4 plus 6. Half goes into 8 4 times. Equals 2 goes into 8 4 times. Negative 12 plus 3. Or 1 minus the absolute value of 10 equals negative 9. Absolute value of 10 is 10. 1 minus 10 equals negative 9. I said that fast. The absolute value of 10, this right here, is equal to 10. So 1, it was minus here, it's minus. So we have 1 minus 10 is negative 9 equals negative 9, and it checks. All right, now to go to the second one, 1 minus absolute value, 1/2 times negative 2 plus 6 equals negative 3/2 times negative 2 plus 3. I'm almost out of time, so we might not finish this. 1 minus 2's cancel, absolute value of negative 1 plus 6, or 1 minus absolute value of 5 equals